Welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. We are here with Dr. Pat Boulogne. She is a functional lifestyle medicine expert coach. She is asking you, why are you sick, fat, and tired? And Dr. Pat helps busy professionals and other influencers be stronger, make better decisions, find balance, get more out of their day with superior related wellness initiatives. Dr. Pat, glad to be talking to you.
Yes, I'm really happy to be here and talk to you and share some information that would help your listeners.
Yes, and I'm excited to get the juicy details, because you always hear about this when, the business creeps in or work creeps in, and next thing you know, you don't have time to exercise. You don't have time to eat right. You don't have time to do those things that you should be doing. And the next thing you know, some health issue comes. And it feels unexpectedly, but yet it's been many years coming just from slowly settling and falling back into this bad lifestyle. So is that a common occurrence? Is this something that happens to people all over?
Yes.
Okay.
I wish there was more to that, to the explanation to that. But the answer is yes. A lot of times people put off tomorrow what they should be doing today. It's not just about their health, it's about every aspect of their life, because they always say, well, how you do anything is how you do everything. So as a business owner and someone who has to produce, you've got to have your health. You need it for everything. And you need your mindset in order to be able to carry you through even your longest day. And a lot of people neglect that, gut-brain connection. They eat poorly, they think poorly, and they go to sleep. They watch the news, they go to sleep, and the next thing you know, they are, it's just like they're not getting enough sleep. There's things that, and they don't understand what health really is anyway. I mean, because they never were taught it. We were never taught how to eat in this country, and there's so many things about our food that people don't understand. For like how to buy it, why do you buy organic food? There's a very short, simplified answer why anybody would want to do that. But a lot of people, it escapes them. For some people, they think it's always so expensive, but they never price out what a disease costs them out of pocket for a specific disease, like diabetes is $19,000. And that was a couple of years ago, that statistic. That's probably higher now.
And that's interesting to think about in that way. It's kind of like if you were to go and buy a car, and you say, well, I could buy it outright, or I could put down this down payment, but they want you to think more short-sighted, well, here's the monthly payment. And so it feels like this issue of taking the shortcut, looking for the quick fix, going for the unhealthy food, that's like the monthly payment, and you're ignoring the total amount that's being paid basically in interest, not in dollars, but in the health that catches up to you later.
Oh, for sure. And even in the that interest part of it, I was in a grocery store about a year ago up in Maryland, and had two broccolis. One was organic, one was regular broccoli, traditional GMO broccoli. And this woman asked me, I just told the story about an hour ago, so it's very fresh. And so she said, "Why are you looking at these broccolis? You look like you're contemplating which one to buy, and they look like the same to me." And I said, "Well, they're not." And I said, "Actually, it's like dating. Eating broccoli is like dating." And she said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Yeah, really." And I said, "You have your broccoli that is organic. It's like dating the guy who wants to water, walk, and feed you. Make sure you've got good nutrition. You get the nice side of the bed, the nice fluffy pillows. Make sure you're covered up, water, walk, and feed you, etc." And then you have the guy who is the party guy who keeps you up till 2:00 in the morning, and you got to get up and go to work. And so I said, that guy is the GMO guy. That guy's got, glycophosphates. They sprayed with chemicals, pesticides, herbicides. And I said, but they still look the same. And she said, so which one's the organic broccoli? And it was the one in my left hand. And I said, this one is. And she said, she reached over and grabbed it. She goes, get your own. And she walked away. She goes, good story. But it just goes to show that things look like, feel like, when you look at them, they probably kind of taste alike, but it's the nutrients that are sprayed in them. Most broccoli or other vegetables, or, including how things are stored, like coffee has a lot of mold in it. But the broccoli part of it and the other vegetables, they're played with glycophosphates and all that, the stuff just before it goes to market. So it's fresh, it's on there, and you're eating it, and it's all carcinogenic.
And what little I know about it is super scary for me. Like what little I know is that they say that with like the GMOs, that there's no getting away from it, that it's just it's everywhere. With the organic, what little I've heard is that it's kind of, a lot of it's maybe like a marketing technique where there's the pesticides versus not pesticides. But I've heard that like some things are called organic, but they're not actually that much healthy for you. And then me personally, sometimes I tell myself, well, at least I'm eating vegetables and I'm not just eating TV dinners and fast food. So like, what do you think about those things? What do you think about what I've heard and what my thought process is?
Well, I decided to eat organic a couple of years ago, and my grocery bill, especially this year, but my grocery bill went up about $500 the first year, and it's been at $1,000 for the last 2 years, more than it was when I would buy intermittently, like if I couldn't get something, and I needed to have it. But I just don't do it anymore. If it's not organic, I don't put it in my mouth. And I will, if I go out to eat, dinner with some people, and, I ask a few questions, I end up with a salad or something like that and a piece of like, Atlantic, like wild salmon. I always ask where the food source, and sometimes I just don't go to dinner. I just meet them for like, having a glass of wine or something like that when I end up going out. Because I think it's important. If you don't honor your body as in the sanctuary that it is, then what you get out, like if you have a car that's supposed to run on premium and you keep on putting in regular gasoline, your car is going to die a lot sooner. And it happens the same thing with your body.
And so what's great about what you're teaching us here is you're giving us these cool stories, these cool analogies, because some of the health things that are taught, it's such a mess. It's so confusing. And then sometimes I'm thinking like, haven't I heard this like, 20 or 30 times before? So how do you, as far as you getting your books out and getting your messaging out, how do you rise above the noise, and how do you come across with something interesting versus all the tired kind of dieting advice out there?
Well, one thing is I'm much more than just a chiropractor, which is my first training, or a sports physician, or, a coach or a mentoring coach, because where I really have incredible success with my clients is we talk about mindset first. So if you understand the definition of health in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, it said that health is a condition of wholeness in which all the organs are functioning 100% of the time. Well, you don't know that. And the World Health Organization, when they were telling the truth back in 1946, they said it's a condition, it's not just, the absence of disease and infirmities, but it also includes things that have, like it's the idea of like working with the environment, and the idea of being able to have the capacities and in your life so that you can enjoy your life also. And it's not just about health. There's other aspects that include that. And that was in 1986. So what happens is that people just don't know how to organize it. So how you organize it is that I teach 5 pillars of health, and that's proper nutrition, diet, which is one thing for me, because I teach a nutritious diet, not just like you can have a bad diet and still eat nutrition. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And then there's exercise, proper sleep. Sleep is so essential to get the amount of sleep that you need and the quality of sleep that you need, so that you can repair, you can vitalize for your future and hit the ground running the next day. If you don't do that, or you start depleting from that part of it, then you have illnesses that go along with that. That like sleep deficit type things. And then you have positive mental attitude and positive mindset. And that's the 4th pillar. And the 5th pillar is properly functioning nervous system, which really relates to posture and biomechanics. So you have to have proper posture, and that all goes together into like pieces of the puzzle. The biggest piece of the puzzle, because people go like, why can't I lose weight? Like, why am I always sick? How come I'm getting fat? No matter, even if I'm really dieting, well, it's because you have to really address the first things first, and that's the mindset. And that's where people falter all the time, because they go, I'm going to go this health kick for a month. And then if they have an emotional event that comes along, then they're kicked in the gut, and they kind of go like, oh man, chocolate ice cream or that pizza. And like, oh, it's not just two slices of the pizza, they eat the whole thing. So, it's that, that shutting off of like, am I really, really hungry? And like, and how do I make better choices or make sustainable lifestyle choices so that I can move forward in a progression that makes sense. So I'm much more than just a chiropractor or just a sports physician or just, a nutritionist or just a functional medicine doctor. I really combine looking at the whole person and going like, well, what's really going on with you? Oh, you got an emotional problem going on? Like, not that it's diagnostic like anxiety, but you have to say well, when you hit a wall and you can't get past it, instead of keep on hitting the wall, which is the definition of insanity by Einstein, you got to go like, why, when I get to this point, I get stuck and I feel like I'm in the mud. How come I can't lose weight? Where does that really come from? Because it doesn't come from like, why can't I keep on a diet for more than 21 days? Why is it? So in looking at the root cause of the issue, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or social, mind, body, soul, whether it's at work, home, or play, you've got to like figure out like what's the piece of the puzzle that's missing and how can I, get it handled so that I can move forward, with certainty that I can be successful in my life and in my health.
And that makes a lot of sense that you have these 5 pillars. That way we're not just only focused on one aspect. If the other pillar that we're ignoring is dragging us down, it's like, since you and I are using lots of stories and analogies today, it's like if you were driving your car and you had a flat tire and you said, well, I don't understand. I've got gas in the tank. Why can't I drive? Why won't my car drive? There's gas in the tank, but there's also this other issue that you're ignoring. And I like that a lot. And it makes a lot of sense as far as these people that kind of they half-ass their diet, or they kind of just do the bare minimum, or there's like that alarming statistic of like the average person that gets on a diet falls off and then gains more weight, or like is heavier than they were before they got on the diet in the first place. And that's kind of scary. And so I tell myself with all this ball of mess, with like the physical exercise and the positive mental attitude, I tell myself to just do my best. And I tell myself to get into some of these good habits. Like I go on lots of walks to avoid the issue of saying, well, I'll run 5 miles today out of nowhere and then never do it again. And so out of the things you listed, one area that I'm always kind of looking to beef up is the sleep area, because I feel like I'm a lot better now with sleeping than maybe I was in my 20s. I don't drink nearly as much. I drink a lot more water now compared to soda. And I've noticed that lately I kind of sleep like midnight to 6 a.m. And I feel more rested, and I feel like I slept better versus like when I used to sleep like 10 p.m. to like 8 a.m. I feel like I'm older, but I get less sleep, but I'm more rested. So what do you think I'm doing right? And what should we be doing right to have like the best sleep possible?
Well, I have taught numerous sleep summits. And I teach my clients about sleep is that you're in order to have really good sleep hygiene, you need to make your bedroom a sanctuary. And so that means lights out, that means computer off, that means nothing electronic near your head. So, and because you have electromagnetic energy that comes from electrical devices, it's easily anybody who you can go to a hardware store and ask for a meter to test what the outpour of electricity is from a socket, and it keeps on coming out, it doesn't stop. So there's like energy quote unquote busters that you can plug in to some light so that it disperses that kind of energy. Turning your cell phone off, unless you have a sick parent or you need it, like you're on like an emergency call or something like that, but you can still put it across the room. Putting it on, airplane mode if you have to have it next to the head of your bed is much better. And using, Ethernet over Wi-Fi, if you have a lot of exposure to it, it can affect your health. And I just think that, the things that you're doing right are you're like, you're watching what you drink, whether it's alcohol, whether it's soda, whatever it was before, and drinking a lot more water. You need water for all those 5 pillars of health. And how you figure out how much water that you actually need is 50% of your body weight in ounces is how much water you should have per day. Drink it out of a straw. It's easier to get that amount into your system. And also, it's just like if you're going to have water, like maybe if you go to sleep at midnight, maybe you might want to stop drinking water at about like 9:30, 10 o'clock at the latest, and so that you can get a better, sounder sleep. And also people sleep on beds that are horrible. They don't support them posture wise, either the pillows or the bed itself. They don't have enough cushion underneath you so that your spine when you're laying on your side is parallel to the bed. That's ideal. And melatonin, the misconception about melatonin usually surges between approximately 1 and 4 o'clock in the morning for most people. So, and a lot of people don't know how to supplement melatonin or other type of sleep aids. Any sleep aid that has a side effect on it is something I would tell you never to do. And so there's things you can do. You can take a hot bath. You can take a hot shower. There's Chinese supplementation for sleep medication or sleep formulas that don't have any side effects. And they're all food. So why not take something that really, truly makes sense that's not going to harm your body in the long run? And also like having the room like around 68 degrees, ideal is for the winter time, and having the shades full, so that you're really in a blackout type room. And if you have to get blackout, material, then get it, or wear, the goggles going to sleep.
This is great. I have a little bit of a mental checklist going in my head as far as have the phone on airplane mode across the room. And even that alone sounds like a great step up, because I found lately that I've caught myself waking up first thing, reaching over and checking the phone and just immediately getting stressed out, right? Getting stressed out about emails, notifications, and all those things. In addition to what you're talking about, the EMFs and the all that stuff right near my head. I'm putting in the mental checklist to not drink water a few hours before bed, but then during the day to have the straw. That way I get it down more quickly. And so this is great. These are all like little, small, incremental, easily doable things that we can all adopt and kind of like ease into this lifestyle here, right? Have the cold room, have the soft bed, have the blackout curtains. It's not all or nothing. It's just we can kind of add on these little things into the lifestyle that we have been lacking. So in your experience as a chiropractor and a coach and everything that you're seeing these days, what are we not talking about enough?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I think what we're not talking about enough is people's accountability and people's unwillingness to really take a look at their health. A lot of times people say, the 3 things that people always say is like, I don't have time, I don't have money, and maybe I just don't want to do it. I don't care. But the way that people come across about their health, to me, a lot of times is they just don't care. And the thing is, they don't know, and they don't really know how ignorant, in some instances that, that they can be, or they actually sound. So when somebody, is blatantly like, I don't want to do it, I'm not going to waste my time, energy. And I don't want someone to waste their time, energy, or money unless they're really committed to having your health and having the outcomes that they deserve to have. I mean, if you don't want to get what your parents, had, or your grandparents had, the best thing you can do is change your constitution. And how you change your constitution, you change it by what you put in your mouth. And so food combining is important. Chemically speaking, food combining, how you combine foods together, either work optimally for you or they don't. And there's some foods that you can have that are, you're going, but I like it. I heard someone like, but I like sugar. I said, then great. I was working in a doctor's office, filling in for him. And I turned around before I left the room. I told this girl, I said, stop eating sugar. If you want to get better, you need to stop eating sugar, because sugar causes inflammation. And inflammatory type of diseases, can happen even from childbirth. 9 out of 10 children who are born have some type of cervical damage in their neck. from the birthing process. First time they have inflammation when they're at birth, and then you have things, the toxic things that you have in your environment, fertilizers, things that you clean your house with. People never read those labels. And if anybody's using those plugins, they should definitely not use those plugins. Even Google says they're carcinogenic. I mean, so it's not a really good thing, or even the things that hang in your car either. So you have these toxins that are around your environment. And for women who put makeup on, if you can't eat your makeup, you should not put it on your face, because 65% of anything that you put on your body gets absorbed through your skin. And so then you have that, process of thoughts, and thoughts can undo whatever you do to correct the trauma, like the structural things that are going on, and also the toxins. It can undo that up to 5 to 7 times just by having not good thoughts. So you're either vibing on the side of deficiency, or you're vibing on the side of abundance and freedom. And so it's just like, and all you got to do to change your mindset is go like, okay, I'm bored today. Wow. Why am I bored? Or I'm angry, or I have anxiety. All you have to do is change your mindset. You just need a mindset change, and you need to have some planned action steps in order to get there, in order to get new results. And then being consistent with it. And there's a rule and a formula that I use for teaching people how to create habits, which you need to have, into rituals. And it takes anywhere from usually 21 days and 90 days after that, which is 111 days. But it's on average 66 days, which, if you did the 21, 90-day thing, it was 111 days. But it's like 18 days, somebody can change something into a habit, into a ritual, and it can take up to 8 months. It depends upon who you are, but you've got to be repetitious. You've got to have consistency in whatever you do and whatever you think. And you have to be willing to read labels. And if you don't understand what you're eating, if you can't pronounce it, you shouldn't buy it. And the best thing to do on label reading is actually read the label, look up the side effects of what you're eating. Not who, it's just like, because by the time that you eat it, it's going to be a who care thing. But look up the side effects on some of the inert ingredients that are even in supplementation. And sometimes people take things that they really don't need. So having more targeted supplementation would be the lifestyle medicine approach of diet, exercise, supplementation, and then you do something else. So I go on the premise of I test, I don't guess. And so my first test is in my book, Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired? It looks at all the organ systems. The organ systems should work as a functional unit. And also like a Swiss watch. And so when they work together, we're all in good shape. When they start to lag, then you start seeing other signs and symptoms in other different places. So in order to have a guidebook, a workbook, and an advocating tool, and know where to spend your time, energy, and your money, that's the book for anybody, especially if you take over-the-counter drugs. It's the book's for you.
Okay, well, I want to make sure that we plug the book in a moment here, but what I'm getting from your answers and from our entire conversation is how important it is to, number one, be aware of what's around, because even some of the things you were talking about, I mean, power coming out of the electrical outlet, didn't even think about it, right? All the bad things they say about sugar or food combination or looking at the ingredients, all just things for us to maybe perk up and be more aware of those surroundings. Second thing I'm getting from you is the kind of the curiosity factor. Like, okay, you see what's in the ingredients, but then go and Google that, and not just Google what the ingredient is, but also what are the side effects. So that way I know what to change. And then the third thing I'm getting from you is just how important it is to have a plan, because it's easy to say, watch out for these things might kill you, change these habits. And then a lot of people say, oh yeah, sure, I'll get to that someday. But you're saying, have a plan, have a schedule, make time for what's important, figure out these important habits, because eventually the rent will come due. Eventually all those termites under the plank of wood that you've been ignoring all this time, eventually it'll fall through, and it's time to replace the planks of wood, because if you don't, like as you said, you'll have so many of these ailments that your ancestors had. So there's a lot to think about, a lot to be aware of. It seems like everything could kill you, but that's been the case in all of human history, right? There's always been a million things out there that could damage you. So we need to know what to focus on and what problems to solve. And you have this excellent book, Why Are You Sick, Fat, and Tired? So can you tell us, Dr. Pat, where to get the book and why it's so urgent and so timely to get it right now.
Well, the where to get the book, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it at Barnes and Noble. I refer people to Amazon. It's an easy, everybody has an account usually. And I would also recommend to get the paper edition, because my experience with digital myself, and I know through other people, have always told me you get digital and the next thing you know, it's on your telephone and you forget about it. So you got to have something that you can see, because you will repeat the questionnaire in there, and which will also give you and will lead you to where knowledge is powerful in the sense of where you know how to take your next step and how to stack it. And then you asked me, what was the other question you asked me? I just want to make sure I answer it.
Why is this so urgent?
Yeah. Well, it's urgent because things that happen in your environment are accumulatory, which means that I might eat something bad. I might eat it 10 times and I don't have a problem. So I think I'm perfectly fine. But after you eat it for 2 years, you suddenly now have holes punched in your gut, which is called leaky gut. So the food seeps out and goes into the blood system to go to the liver, and the liver's job is to detoxify what is in your body and put it back in your intestinal tract, or it goes to the kidney, to the bladder, to end up in a toilet. And so when it can't do that anymore, it takes all those toxins and it starts storing them for future use in blood, brain, bone, and fat. And you don't want to have that happen. And so there's only a few supplementations that I know that actually take out heavy metals and chemicals, and if somebody's interested, get my book and then reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that other aspect. That's another show. But there's toxins that we don't ever deal with. And if you don't deal with them, they'll go to your weakest link. So you hear people going like, oh, I had, testicular cancer. That was their weakest link. And when that weak link gets full, if you don't pay attention to it, it goes to the next organ system. Then it goes to the next organ system, and it just works on down the line. But the first 4 places it goes is blood, brain, bone, and fat. It loves fatty tissue.
Well, scary stuff. So the way to get unscared, the way to begin to take action instead of just seeing, well, there's this problem, there's nothing else I can do about it, ho hum. The time to act is now, and the place to act is to go to Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. Yep. and search, why are you sick, fat, and tired, from Dr. Pat. Get it now. You'll be glad you did. And get the paperback version, as Dr. Pat said. So that way you don't start reading on your phone and then a notification comes up, or you put it, you read it before bed and you have those dreaded EMFs right by your head. Why not have the paperback book? That way you can read it before winding down to bed, and that way you avoid so many of these things that we've been discussing. So why are you sick, fat, and tired? Get it on Amazon. Any final words of advice, Dr. Pat, before we wrap up here?
Well, think good thoughts, do good deeds, and thrive, and in order to thrive, you got to eat well, think well, because you need your health for everything. And so, and it starts with you, and you're not your DNA. You are how you are responding to your environment. That's epigenetics, and that's proven. So that's why when people always say to me, oh, it's genetic in my family, it's just like, that's not true, because everybody in your family would have the exact same thing. And that's not always the case. So you've got to think well, feel well, make good decisions, good lifestyle choices. And if you're stuck on that, and you're thinking like, I really don't know how to get this handled, reach out to me. My house is your house.
I love it. If you've been stuck in the same patterns, it's because you haven't been listening to the right people. So it's time to break out of the feedback loop. Contact Dr. Pat, get her book, do it now. We will see you there. And thank you, Dr. Pat, for showing up.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Love being here. Thank you so much.